This recognition of October's intelligent partnership reflects a fundamental shift from conventional separation consciousness to what quantum physicists might call entangled awareness. Recognition that you exist not as isolated entity, but as integral expression within an interconnected field of consciousness. From this perspective, October's transformational energy isn't external force acting upon you, but resonant field expressing through you as unique focal point in the greater consciousness system. The specific transformations appearing in your experience aren't random circumstances, but precise calibrations aligned with your evolutionary trajectory. The relationship completing its cycle isn't punishment or failure, but perfectly timed transition, creating space for connections that better reflect your expanding consciousness. The career shift isn't setback or delay, but reconfiguration, allowing more authentic expression of your evolving gifts. The belief structures dissolving aren't mistakes being corrected, but limited understanding naturally giving way to expanded perspective. When you recognize this intelligent partnership, your relationship with transformation fundamentally shifts. Instead of bracing against change as threatening disruption requiring resistance, you move with it as natural expression of your own evolutionary intelligence. This shift doesn't eliminate the emotional processing that naturally accompanies transition, but fundamentally changes its quality, from frightening disorientation to profound participation in your own becoming. This participatory relationship with October's energy reflects what some wisdom traditions call conscious evolution. The transition from unconscious development driven by external circumstances to intentional unfolding guided by awareness, partnership with greater intelligence. This shift doesn't mean controlling external events, but consciously cooperating with the evolutionary currents already moving through your life, amplifying their transformational potential through aligned participation, rather than diminishing it through resistance. What makes October particularly significant in this conscious evolution process is its natural resonance with completion initiation cycles. The seasonal shift from summer's expansive expression to autumn's integrative wisdom creates ideal conditions for releasing what has fulfilled its purpose, while simultaneously creating space for what seeks to emerge. This natural rhythm provides precisely the energetic template needed for conscious transformation. Not forced conclusion or premature beginning, but organic completion, creating fertile void from which new coherence naturally emerges. The distinctive quality of transformation occurring during October often carries what some traditions call quantum signatures, characteristics that distinguish evolutionary leaps from incremental improvements. These include nonlinear progression, change occurring without passing through expected intermediate stages, holographic effects, shifts in one area, creating simultaneous transformation across multiple domains, and emergent properties, new capacities appearing that transcend mere combination of previous elements. These quantum signatures explain why October transformations often feel qualitatively different from ordinary change. The relationship transition doesn't merely substitute one connection for another, but fundamentally transforms your capacity for authentic relationship. The career shift doesn't simply exchange one professional context for another, but reorganizes your entire relationship with contribution and purpose. The perspective shift doesn't merely add new information to existing understanding, but reorganizes your perceptual framework from its foundation. As you move through October's transformational gateway, remember that the shifts occurring aren't merely changing your external circumstances, but evolving who you are becoming. The forms transforming in your life, relationships, careers, living situations, belief structures, are simply external reflections of internal evolution. The true transformation isn't happening to your circumstances, but through your consciousness, with external changes simply mirroring this deeper evolution. This understanding doesn't diminish the significance of external shifts, but places them in proper context, not as random disruptions requiring management, but as coherent expressions of your own evolutionary intelligence seeking more authentic manifestation. When viewed from this perspective, even challenging transitions reveal themselves as precisely calibrated catalysts for growth that your deeper wisdom has drawn into your experience specifically because they contain exactly the transformational potential you're ready to integrate. Drop one word in the comments that captures the transformation energy you're choosing to embody this October. This isn't just a comment. It's your energetic signature in the quantum field. This single-word declaration represents what consciousness researchers sometimes call a coherence anchor, a focused expression that crystallizes your transformational intention into precise frequency signature. Unlike general aspirations, which often dissipate without specific focus, this concentrated declaration creates what quantum physicists might call a standing wave in your consciousness field, a stable vibrational pattern that continues influencing your experience long after the initial declaration. The power of this practice lies in its elegant simplicity. By distilling complex transformational intentions into single-word essence, you bypass the analytical mind's tendency toward complexity and directly access what some traditions call consciousness technology, the capacity to affect energetic fields through precisely focused intention. The word you choose isn't merely descriptive but generative, not just naming your desired state, but actually helping to manifest it through focused attentional power. What makes this practice particularly potent during October is the heightened resonance between individual and collective fields during transitional gateways. Your single-word declaration doesn't merely affect your personal field, but contributes to the greater morphic field, strengthening specific frequency patterns in the collective consciousness. This explains why certain transformation themes often emerge synchronistically among people without conventional communication, resonant frequencies in the field becoming simultaneously accessible to multiple consciousness nodes. The public nature of this declaration adds another dimension of transformational power through what some traditions call witnessed intention. The amplification effect that occurs when declarations are made within conscious community rather than in isolation. When your transformation intention receives witnessing acknowledgement, even in digital space, it creates coherence reinforcement that strengthens its manifestational momentum beyond what isolated intention could generate. And subscribe not just to stay connected, but to stay in coherent resonance with this awakening community. The more of us who embody this conscious relationship with change, the more our collective reality reflects that expanded truth. This invitation transcends conventional social media subscription to engage what consciousness researchers call intentional community field generation, the creation of coherent energy fields through aligned intention among physically dispersed individuals. Unlike random digital aggregations based on algorithmic sorting, conscious field communities form through resonance with specific evolutionary frequencies, creating connections that transcend conventional space-time limitations. The field coherence generated through such conscious community creates what some quantum physicists describe as non-local influence, effects that operate beyond local causality limitations. As this coherent field strengthens, it creates what complexity scientists call emergent properties, capacities and qualities that transcend mere aggregation of individual contributions. The community field literally develops properties and potentials not predictable from examining its separate components. This field effect explains why consciousness evolution accelerates within coherent communities compared to isolated individual development. The resonant field creates what some traditions call entrainment assistance, supporting individual alignment with specific frequencies through collective coherence that makes evolutionary shifts more accessible and sustainable than they would be through solitary effort. Your individual transformation both contributes to and receives support from this greater field coherence. What distinguishes this quantum community from conventional groupings is its foundation in consciousness resonance rather than external categorization. You're not joining based on demographic similarity, ideological agreement, or shared external circumstances, but through resonance with specific evolutionary frequencies that transcend these surface classifications. This creates connection possibilities that conventional community structures cannot access. As October's transformational gateway unfolds, remember that you're not navigating this passage in isolation, but as conscious participant in an awakening field. Your individual shifts contribute to collective evolution, just as the collective field supports your personal transformation. This reciprocal relationship between individual and collective represents not abstract philosophy, but practical reality at the quantum level, where separation exists only as temporary appearance rather than fundamental truth. The transformation unfolding through October isn't merely personal growth, but participation in evolutionary intelligence that seeks expression through increasingly conscious partnership with human awareness. Your willingness to move with, rather than against October's transformational rhythm, contributes to a field coherence that makes similar alignment more accessible to all, creating ripple effects far beyond what your individual perception can track. Trust the process unfolding through you. Trust the wisdom dismantling what no longer serves. Trust the intelligence clearing space for what seeks expression. Trust the timing revealing precisely what you're ready to integrate. Trust the path unfolding one step at a time, even when the destination remains beyond current vision. Trust the October gateway as consciousness partnership rather than random disruption. And most importantly, trust your own capacity to move with, rather than against this transformational flow. Discovering that what initially appears as challenging ending ultimately reveals itself as magnificent beginning in disguise. The quantum principles we've explored today about October's transformational energy connect directly to what I call synchronicity recognition in my video, How the Universe Talks to You, Neville's Synchronicity. In that exploration, you'll discover exactly how these October shifts appear as divine communication through seemingly random events, the precise language the universe uses to confirm you're aligned with your highest timeline. Understanding this language of synchronicity is essential for navigating October's gateway with maximum awareness. One approach to comprehending these shifts is viewing them as energetic information systems. Every challenge enters your field as input data, something unplanned yet requiring integration. Your processing of that input determines the output manifestation. If you perceive it as random chaos, the output generates confusion, uncertainty, or apprehension. However, when you process it as meaningful communication, a course correction from higher intelligence, the output transforms accordingly. You experience clarity, resilience, and direction where fear previously dominated. This information processing framework, offers practical tools for navigating October's accelerated shifts. Consider implementing what consciousness researchers call coherent interpretation practice, a disciplined approach to meaning-making that transforms how you process life events. When unexpected change enters your experience, pause before automatically assigning negative meaning. Instead, ask, if this event contains intentional communication from the intelligent field of consciousness, what might it be revealing or directing me toward? This single question initiates a profound perceptual shift. The quantum implications of this practice are significant. According to quantum principles, unobserved systems exist in states of superposition. Multiple potential realities simultaneously present until observation collapses these possibilities into specific manifestation. Your interpretive lens functions as this observation mechanism. The unexpected event enters your awareness in superposition, containing multiple potential meanings simultaneously. Your chosen interpretation literally collapses these possibilities into specific experiential reality. This isn't metaphorical, but reflects how consciousness interfaces with quantum systems. Chaos theory provides another useful framework through its concept of strange attractors. In complex systems, seemingly random fluctuations eventually reveal underlying pattern and order when viewed from sufficient perspective. Your life experiences similarly contain hidden order that becomes visible only when you zoom out beyond immediate circumstances. October's energy often facilitates this perspective shift, allowing you to recognize the coherent pattern within what previously appeared as disconnected events. The information processing approach also illuminates why identical external circumstances produce radically different experiences for different individuals. Two people can face the same job loss, relationship completion, or health challenge, yet emerge with entirely different perceptions and outcomes. The external input was identical, but the internal processing created divergent realities. This understanding shifts agency from external conditions to internal orientation, not denying external reality, but recognizing your power to determine what it means and how you integrate it. This systems perspective reveals something profound about consciousness evolution. Growth rarely proceeds linearly, but through feedback loops where output becomes new input in successive cycles of refinement. The clarity gained from properly processing one challenge becomes the foundation for addressing the next at a higher level of awareness. October's accelerated energy often compresses these feedback cycles, allowing multiple iterations of learning and integration that might otherwise require many months to unfold. As we step into October, prepare yourself for transformations that will arrive unannounced. Certain pathways will dissolve silently, others might terminate abruptly. Yet remember, each conclusion you encounter is actually directing you towards something more magnificent waiting in the wings. The distinctive nature of this month lies in its capacity to accelerate your evolution, at times unexpectedly, occasionally through discomfort. Yet remember, that very discomfort signals that you're in motion, not stagnant. If you've discovered this message today, you aren't lagging behind. You stand precisely at the threshold where transformation initiates. Enter the next stage. What most fail to recognize about October's energy is its quantum acceleration properties. Unlike other transitional periods that gradually shift your reality, October creates ripples in your energetic field that amplify whatever frequency you're currently holding. This is why some experience profound breakthroughs during this month, while others feel unexpected challenges. The difference isn't in the month itself, but in your vibrational stance as you enter it. The universe responds not to your conscious intentions alone, but to the entirety of your energetic signature, including those subconscious patterns still operating beneath your awareness. This is crucial to understand. October doesn't create new conditions in your life. It intensifies and makes visible what was already present, but perhaps hidden from your conscious perception. That relationship that suddenly ends? The tension was already there, vibrating beneath the surface. That unexpected career opportunity? The seeds were already planted in the quantum field of potential, waiting for the right energetic conditions to manifest. October simply accelerates the rate at which these hidden realities become visible in your physical experience. Have you ever contemplated why particular months seem to carry a heavier energetic signature of transformation than others? It's not necessarily connected to your schedule or professional circumstances. Sometimes the energetic frequency of a season itself bears a certain gravitational pull that heightens your awareness of transitions both externally and internally. October occupies precisely this vibrational space. It functions as that intuitive nudge compelling you to observe what's dissolving and what's emerging, often before you've completely integrated what came before. This awareness gap, the space between what's ending and your complete understanding of why, creates what quantum physicists might call a coherence discontinuity. Your conscious mind seeks patterns, explanations, and neat narratives to process change. But October's energy often initiates shifts before your analytical mind has fully comprehended the purpose. This isn't accidental. This timing actually serves your highest evolution by creating a temporary suspension of intellectual certainty, opening you to receive insights that transcend your current mental constructs. The ancient wisdom keepers understood this principle intimately. In numerous indigenous traditions, October, or its equivalent seasonal transition, was seen as a time when the veil between dimensions thinned, allowing greater access to intuitive knowledge and ancestral wisdom. This wasn't mere superstition, but a recognition of the energetic properties of this transition point. The electromagnetic field of the planet itself undergoes subtle shifts during seasonal transitions that affect your own personal biofield. Research in bioelectromagnetics has begun to validate what ancient cultures knew intuitively: that humans are exquisitely sensitive to these planetary rhythmic changes. When you feel that inexplicable restlessness or sudden clarity that often accompanies October's arrival, you're not imagining it. Your energetic system is quite literally responding to shifts in the Earth's field. Your body, at its most fundamental level, is an antenna constantly receiving and transmitting information. October acts as a signal amplifier, strengthening certain frequencies that may have been present but too subtle to consciously register during other times of the year. Consider the environmental shifts occurring during this seasonal transition. The temperature decreases, daylight diminishes, and suddenly your surroundings vibrate at a different frequency. The natural world begins its retreat, releasing what no longer serves the greater cycle. Trees surrender their foliage not from dysfunction, but to create energetic space for what's destined to manifest next. This natural cadence reminds us that transformation isn't primarily about abandonment. It represents preparation, purification, realignment, and faith that the subsequent phase will emerge at its perfect timing. What's fascinating about deciduous trees specifically is how they demonstrate quantum principles of intelligent timing. A maple doesn't drop its leaves on an arbitrary schedule. It responds to a complex interplay of light, temperature, and internal biochemical signals. Similarly, your own timing system operates through a sophisticated network of conscious and unconscious inputs. The changes you experience in October aren't random, but precisely calibrated responses to your entire energetic system's requirements for growth. Consider for a moment what science has revealed about trees. They communicate through vast underground mycelial networks, sharing resources and information in what some researchers now call the Wood Wide Web. This interconnected intelligence mirrors your own relationship to the collective field of consciousness. Just as trees aren't truly separate entities but nodes in a living network, your own transformational process isn't happening in isolation. The shifts you experience during October are part of a larger pattern of evolution that affects the entire human family, though each individual may experience it uniquely based on their specific soul curriculum. This is why certain global or collective shifts often seem to cluster around October. It's not merely coincidence, but the result of a resonant field effect. When a critical mass of individuals undergoes similar internal realignments, it creates ripple effects through the collective consciousness. The personal becomes planetary. Your individual willingness to release what no longer serves you contributes to humanity's broader evolutionary trajectory. The quantum field doesn't distinguish between personal and collective change. It's all interconnected energy in motion. So when you consciously participate in October's transformational frequency, you're not just shifting your own reality, but contributing to the field conditions that make transformation more accessible to all. This is spiritual responsibility in its truest sense, recognizing that your internal work has external consequences far beyond what your limited perception can track. This is where the fascinating polarity emerges. Some individuals experience October as a descent into shadow. Evenings arrive prematurely. Mornings carry a misty quality, and there's this perception of time accelerating as the year approaches its conclusion. Yet others perceive this identical season as profoundly stabilizing. They find clarity in crisp evenings, steadiness in the rhythm, fertile potential in the soil that cradles dormant seeds beneath the surface, preparing for eventual emergence. Two souls can experience the same autumn morning and perceive entirely different realities. One witnesses an ending, while the other recognizes a recalibration. This duality perfectly encapsulates October's essential nature. Conclusions and initiations manifesting simultaneously in quantum superposition. This perceptual divergence isn't merely psychological preference, but reflects something more fundamental about consciousness itself. According to quantum principles, observation affects reality. The photon exists as both wave and particle until measured. Similarly, October exists as both ending and beginning simultaneously. What you experience depends largely on the observational stance you take. This isn't metaphorical, but quite literal. Your consciousness isn't passively recording a fixed external reality, but actively participating in determining which potential reality becomes your lived experience. The neuroscience of perception validates this understanding. Your brain receives millions of sensory inputs every second, but consciously processes only a tiny fraction. Specifically, those inputs that align with your existing beliefs, expectations, and what you've programmed yourself to notice. This selective attention mechanism explains why two people can experience the same October day so differently. One has trained their perceptual filters to notice decay, diminishment, and ending. The other has calibrated their attention to recognize renewal, possibility, and the fertile void from which new realities emerge. This isn't about forcing toxic positivity or denying legitimate feelings of loss. Rather, It's about recognizing that multiple valid interpretations of reality exist simultaneously, and your consciousness has the quantum capacity to shift between these interpretations based on where you place your attention. October doesn't inherently mean decline or renewal. It contains the potentiality for both experiences. Your observational stance determines which potential manifests in your lived experience. The profound implication is that you can intentionally recalibrate your perceptual filters. If you've historically experienced October as a time of heaviness, you can consciously choose to expand your awareness to include the simultaneously existing qualities of clarity, potential, and renewal that this season also contains. This isn't denying reality, but accessing a more complete spectrum of what's already present, but perhaps previously filtered from your conscious awareness. When you observe leaves descending, this mirrors the relationships naturally completing their cycle, the professional paths you've outgrown, or the behavioral patterns you finally release because they no longer resonate with your expanding consciousness. The profound beauty in this natural shedding process lies in its organic quality, almost as if the universe itself is demonstrating how to gracefully release what has fulfilled its purpose. This isn't merely poetic, it's fundamentally practical in the quantum field. Scientific research on seasonal consciousness shifts demonstrates how these environmental cues influence your neurochemistry and emotional states. As daylight hours contract, your physiology naturally increases melatonin production, potentially deepening your rest cycles, while simultaneously making you more conscious of your energetic fluctuations. This rhythmic shift often intensifies introspection. During transitional seasons, people naturally gravitate toward reevaluating their choices and patterns. So when October arrives,